There are 5 Caribbean citizenship by investment programs to choose from if you want to get a passport in a matter of months. And today I'm going to share with you the one that I am least likely to recommend today. Now let me be clear, just because I'm least likely to recommend something doesn't mean I will never recommend it. Everyone's situation is different. I think one of the problems in this industry, probably just in life in general, is that everyone's trying to ask for the best. What's the best? They're trying to follow what I do. I see dramatic interest in St. Lucia, for example, from Americans. Why? Because Americans watch this channel and they just say, well, if it's good enough for him, it's good enough for me, even not realizing, hey, it's maybe not good enough or the best or the only option for your situation. So what I'm going to talk about today does not mean don't do this program, doesn't mean I hate this program, it just means I'm least likely to recommend it, and I'll tell you why. If it's your first time here, my name is Andrew Henderson. I'm the founder of Nomad Capitalist. We're a boutique consulting firm that helps 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs and investors legally go where you're treated best, including getting second citizenship and everything that goes around that, because, yeah, having a second citizenship helps you. It makes you no longer owned by one country. It gives you options. But how do you do your tax planning? Where do you live? How do you do all that? Most people don't understand how to do that. They want to end up spending way too much money. We help them solve that problem. You can learn more at nomadcapitalist.com. Don't overpay. By the way, not everybody needs citizenship by investment. You may have, and we constantly find people who are like, hey, man, save your money. You can do this over here, or you don't need it, or you can, whatever. So last year, 2021, I talked about St. Kitts and Nevis as the least recommended. I didn't say I don't like it. They've always been nice to me in my interactions. It's the one that I've actually interacted with folks personally the most. I just thought, hey, for the average person, it is the platinum standard that they're trying to set. It's just not something that most of our Western clients really needed, unless you had a very large family. So that was last year. That was the one in 2021 with a lot of singles and couples. Just didn't really make the mark. Not that I didn't like it, just didn't work. This year, I've got a different frustration with Antigua and Barbuda. And so I announced at Nomad Capitalist Live in 2021, I'm doing Antigua and Barbuda. And I try not to make my personal experiences relevant beyond how I think they're relevant to you, right? My own personal frustrations for situations that don't apply to you, I try not to bring into this. Why would you do Antigua and Barbuda as an option? For me, it was that I wanted to have another citizenship in the Caribbean. I have St. Lucia. I added my spouse to St. Lucia later, and that's something that St. Lucia allows you to do. I thought, okay, depending on where I want to live in the future, let's have parents-in-law on there. And so you can do that because it's 4 for the price of 1, basically. It's $130,000, $100,000 donation plus a $30,000 processing fee. Let's just call it $130,000. Let's not kid ourselves, right? It's 130 grand. That's the cheapest for a family of 4. It's basically the cheapest for a family of 2. And so I thought, okay, I'll do it. And then if parents-in-law want to do it, that means she needs to do it. So all right, like we'll get the 4 of us in. There's a couple extra due diligence and document fees for the extra people, but like, hey, let's do this together. And then we've got a place that we could all go, and it's a tax-free country for personal income tax. You could do corporate tax planning, and it just gives you more opportunities. And, an extra visa-free travel country or 2. But that was the reason, just further diversification. And so if you have a family of like 3 or 4, it's going to be the most affordable option. And so we have recommended it for that reason. Now, by the way, people are getting their passports. Nothing's wrong with it. They're using their passports. Like, it's not like there's a problem with the passport itself or the country. I mean, people are getting their citizenships. However, my opinion since starting the process has changed. Now, I got caught up in the situation where, we don't want Ukrainians, Russians, or Belarusians. Okay. And there was some scuttlebutt about, okay, maybe we can process it. And it's like, no, forget it. It was kind of a little bit back and forth. I was a little bit disorganized. Some of that was understandable given the rapidly changing environment. But you think when you set a policy about, hey, there's an event going on in the world, here's who we don't want, and here are the reasons, then you would just know what to do. And so that didn't happen. Then later they reopened. And so, okay, did a bunch of work, spent a bunch of money to get all the documents. With my life and the way I live, got documents all around the world. It was a real pain. And so, okay, that won't go. Later they said, we're going to reopen. Hey, can I use the documents that I already have? By the way, I'm not Russian, Ukrainian, Belarusian. But can I reuse those documents? They're obviously stale, but maybe, they're like, we don't know, we'll check. And then, this is not the government speaking, this is the people that we work with, the lawyers. So don't assign what I'm saying from the lawyers to the government. But then they just came back recently and said, we're once again barring Russians, Ukrainians, and Belarusians. Actually, Ukrainians were never unbarred, so we're once again banning Russians and Belarusians. We're going retroactive 3 weeks. So what did I tell you? I'm always telling you, governments are looking for more things to do retroactively. Oh, we got a retroactive tax. If you've been earning money for the last 30 years, just pay us. Who cares? You can handle it. All right, and that's what they did. And so at a certain point, I started to think, okay, this is kind of disorganized. They don't know what they're doing. They're waffling. People sometimes think like I waffle. I waffle when a country does something stupid, and I say it's stupid, and then later they do something good. I'm like, all right, credit where credit's due, right? I'm welcome to change my opinion. I don't look at that as waffling. They seem to be kind of waffling. And so the other issue is the process is just not the most efficient. Even before the bar came down, and again, I wasn't affected personally by the bar. I just figured, why do I need to do this on my own? And I just had kind of a bad taste in my mouth. But I had to get an employment letter from our finance team in our company, and I think they asked for it like 5 different times. And so, the way that we do it is we have kind of a layer of service between the client and the ultimate kind of country service provider, to where they just kept getting the request. I never knew about it, but they're like, yeah, they've asked for this employment letter like 5 times. They keep losing it, or I don't know what's happening, but they keep asking for it. And so they're really slow in terms of like processing when they get your stuff. It kind of sits with the bank for a while, and they run through it. And so that's not a problem, right? Like if you look at and say, hey, it's either Antigua or, okay, maybe I would rather do St. Kitts and Nevis. The price difference is not insubstantial. I mean, it's $65,000 for a family of 4. And so for $65,000, especially if you're working with somebody like Nomad Capitalist who kind of handles the day-to-day bureaucracy for you, hey, I mean, is it really worth $65,000 to, wait around for an extra couple of weeks? Maybe it is. And so I'm not saying I'm not going to recommend it to folks, because my goal is to save people money. My goal is to give people the best option. And so if people are aware of the concerns, it still may be worthwhile. But understand it's going to be a slower process in Antigua. Something like St. Kitts is going to be faster. So you have to evaluate everything. When I say we ask people hundreds of questions when they're working with us, these are some of the things we ask. And you know what? There's some people who are like, I'm in a hurry. There are some people where literally they're looking to change their citizenship status, and saving 2 months could be the difference of saving, $500,000. Yeah, you pay the extra $65,000 to save $500,000, right? Because there's some event coming up financially, or because you're just making so much money that like the sooner you change your status, the better. Every day costs money, whatever. And so in that kind of situation, Antigua is not going to be as efficient. I happen to think it's a nice country. We've had some people who have moved there. I think they've been generally happy with it. It's not, the Cayman Islands by any means, but I think it's a nice place. It's well connected. So there's a lot of benefits there. But for me, it is my least favorite at the moment, and that will change again because there's constantly shifting sands. It is frustrating to me to watch the inefficiency, to watch being asked for the same thing. You're running a citizenship by investment program, which is supposed to be based on a certain commoditization, a certain kind of process, right? It's not like really any kind of other citizenship acquisition. Sure, if you get citizenship by naturalization, there's many countries guidelines to meet. Did you meet them or not? But there's often some level of discretion. Here, there's discretion that if you're not are you a criminal? Are you just a terrible person? But you're running a streamlined program. You should be, figuring a way to not ask people for the same document 5 times. You should not be waffling back and forth on what your policies are. And so we have Grenada, for example, that reopened, and they just remain reopened. And so, their program's a bit more efficient. St. Kitts and Nevis is a bit more efficient. Again, St. Kitts and Nevis was always more efficient, and yet we recommended it to our clients the least in 2021, again, just because it's just most people didn't value, the things that they had to offer for the extra price once they ended their discount, I think, end of 2020. Anyway, so that's my least favorite. What I think you should understand about getting citizenship is whatever my favorite or least favorite is irrelevant. I've had a couple people come in just in the last couple of months where they asked for citizenship by investment, and one of 2 things happened. Either they're not an American and they think that they need to have a second citizenship to leave their country for tax purposes, like an Australian. You don't. If you have enough money, I think you should have it for when Australia starts to tax you on a citizenship basis. It may not happen in the next 5 or 10 years, and maybe there's a better way to do it at a lower price point that where you get a citizenship in 5 years rather than 6 months. But if you think you need a citizenship to leave Australia or Germany or something else, you don't. Also, people who didn't realize they were entitled to citizenship by marriage or citizenship by descent or something else, and they didn't really want to build a whole passport portfolio. For me, I think a Caribbean citizenship is part of a portfolio, is a valuable thing, whether you're entitled to other citizenships or not. I think kind of a basket is a good thing to have. And I think that, quite frankly, second citizenship has been trumped by third citizenship. I think having three is kind of the ultimate diversification, seeing what's happening right now. And I'm not the only one. But in their cases, they didn't really care. Like, listen, I just want a plan B. I'm a crypto guy. I'm concerned with the current policies against freedom. And so St. Kitts didn't make the cut. Now Antigua didn't make the cut. But my point is, you may be entitled to other citizenships. There may be a cheaper option. There may be a better option. People come to me and say they want to do Grenada so they can get E2 to the US, and they don't really understand exactly what that entails. So what my least favorite is relevant to you. I'd be happy to work with you. If you go to nomadcapitalist.com, we can answer this. This is based on my personal experience, just kind of the frustrations I see in the paperwork side. And so when our team gets an Antigua case, they're like, Antigua. When they get like a St. Kitts case, they're like, oh. Obviously, they're based on their workload and needing to track people down and follow people down, and not based on, oh, this guy's paying like potentially $65,000 more. And so I care about our clients saving $65,000 where possible. There still may be ways when Antigua makes sense, but just understand you're getting a less efficient product. Also, perhaps less efficient for some folks in that it was probably the most difficult of the five to get into during the pandemic. Also, it was the only one where you need to go and spend 5 days during the first 5 years to renew your passport. Again, always told people that. People are like, whatever, I'll of course want to make a vacation. I actually think it's a good thing to go, and even if you don't have to go to your citizenship country, you probably should. Just pop in for a week, see what it's like. You can tell people you've been there. I think it's a good thing. But the other four don't require you to ever go there. And so, there's a certain inefficiency to that, one that most people have tolerated, but one that you should be aware of going in. I see a lot of misinformation. I hear a lot of stories from people about how someone told them the wrong thing. I'm not saying don't go through Antigua's citizenship program. I'm saying be aware of these issues. And for that reason, I have to admit I'm a little bit frustrated with it.